I think everyone knows that I like to start each of the learning units with a and Chelsea's going to be haunted again with a visual impact, especially the recordings. Otherwise, they look rubbishy on VC Learn on YouTube. Guys, what is that person? And these people have in common that person there. Who is that person, by the way? They're influential, super rich. Yeah, Nelson Mandela. Who's that guy? Let's see. Charismatic. Anyone know who that is? Yes. What does Jeff Probst do? It's nice as the Survivor host. Who have I got next? Oh yes, I put a woman in here because obviously, I need to be a bit more diverse, and I can't just show old white men. Old white men. Who is that, and what is she famous for? Oprah, obviously. Oprah. Who else have I got a picture of here? Oh gosh, what is that person? What is that person? And this person. What do they all have in common? Sorry, that's a disturbing picture as it is. What do they all have in common? Filthy. We've gone from rich to filthy rich. Money. I'm pretty sure that this lecture wouldn't be about money, guys. Oh gosh, dollars. Oh my word. Yeah, I asked for an intelligent class, but instead they gave me a bunch of money grubbers who worry about dollars. They can get you out of debt. Oh my, when you arrive in class and you think, oh my gosh, my students have been drinking. Show me the money. Oh dear Lord. Yeah, no, it's more than well known, Tanya. I mean, I wouldn't just do pictures of people who are well known. Come on, guys. It tells you there the answer. At some point, they transformed the world and organizations. Yeah, they're absolutely leaders, but they're transformational leaders, guys. I think when we think of transformational leaders, if we put pictures, and I want to start with that guy there. In what way did he, first of all, transform the world, but also how did he transform Apple? In particular, after they were in trouble and he went back to them. What imprint did that guy leave on the world? As I think they changed the world. They disrupted the entire world. I mean, every single one of these individuals, in some way or another, had disrupted what the world essentially accepted as rules. How did Jeff Probst change television? Absolutely, Boyti. The touchscreen killing off Nokia. How did Jeff Probst change television? Reality shows. I mean, prior to reality shows, the paradigm in terms of television shows was that you had a script, you had actors, you had people who were directing, you would edit, etc., etc. And what did he do? They changed the rules of the game in terms of reality shows. In fact, what you did in particular in Survivor is you take a bunch of people. Now, I had a friend who applied to be on Survivor. You go through a battery of psychological tests, and honestly, every single person who appears on Survivor has some sort of psychological dent. So you take people who are slightly crazy and you stick them in a crazy situation, and we watch them be crazy. But that was the next transition, and that's such a good point, Charles. That is the next transition. Now we have, I don't know, Abeja Wives and Johannesburg Wives, which is scripted reality. Now I don't watch any of that, but I can tell you now, on this in this class today, there are people who watch scripted reality. Be honest, Abeja Wives, Durban Wives, Joburg, who watches that? Oh gosh, come on, guys. Be honest so I can point and laugh at you. But what he did is he changed the rules of the game. We all of a sudden had reality TV. And I mean, if you think of the number of shows that were prompted as a consequence of that. So when we think of transformational leaders, these are people who rewrite the rules of the game. They transform societies, they transform organizations. And more importantly, they have this ability to essentially set new rules in place that will have some sort of indelible impression on the world. Now, the reason and I think people must be getting tired of Mandela, because every time I lecture, I use Mandela because I still think he is a hero, and we should treat him as such. When we look at Mandela's behavior during the 99, he is flippin' amazing. During the 99 World Cup. Nah, let me try that again. The 1995 World Cup. I think when we think of the essence of transformational leadership, every single behavior during the World Cup, in terms of what he did, essentially is the basis of what transformational leadership is about. Every bit. If you watch Invictus, and I had always hoped that you guys had a chance to look at the slides and see Invictus. Can I just see who has seen Invictus, the movie, the full movie? Red, yeah. You don't want to watch it for the rugby, because honestly, in the clip that I shared earlier with you guys, the truth is, as Francois Pinard said, the Americans didn't understand rugby, and so they couldn't capture the essence of rugby. But Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela, there are times where you watch it that you actually believe you're watching Mandela. It is disturbing how well Morgan Freeman had transformed into Nelson Mandela. Now, the truth is, Matt Damon was never going to be Francois Pinard. Matt Damon is a shorty. Francois Pinard is a tall guy. But the reality is, and the accent didn't work. I mean, I don't know why people seem to think that's what we sound like, Ekers Afrikaans, and I certainly don't sound like any American accent or interpretation of what the Afrikaans accent sounds like. So, in terms of transformational leadership, guys, well worth watching, and yeah. And when I say well worth watching, it is honestly, just take the time and spend the hour and a half watching it. And don't watch it for the rugby, don't watch it for Matt Damon trying to praat Afrikaans, but watch it for Morgan Freeman. So in terms of what transformational leaders are, the first thing is they have this significant effect on followers. When we think of Nelson Mandela and how he changed South Africa, this is a guy that convinced people who had seen the Springbok symbol as the oppressors symbol, who had kept the Springbok in place. We still keep the Springbok, guys, which was an apartheid symbol. So the reality is, here we have a guy that has such an effect on followers that he would convince people, or could convince people, that we keep the symbol, which initially was very hated and is now very embraced. And then the kinds of things we see, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The kind of things that we see, the key one for me is how people feel about these individuals. It is the trust, the admiration, it's the loyalty and the respect. And when you work for a transformational leader, this is what happens. These are the kinds of moments where you perform above and beyond. The simple truth is, South Africa did not have the best team in the 1995 World Cup. And I know most of you weren't even born in 1995. Who was born after 1995? Make me feel really old. Who was born after 95? Dill, Tyra, Rebecca. So I'm talking about stuff that makes no sense to you. Chelsea, oh, Boyti. Oh my gosh. Is there anyone at least that was born before 95? If you're born in 95, oh, thank goodness, Tanya, you're my favorite student for this moment. Oh gosh, in 95, oh my word, yeah, I'm gonna cry silently after the class, feeling incredibly old. So, in terms of what a transformation leader does, it creates an adaptive organization. And if I go back to my pictures, oh, golly, what am I doing? When I look at this guy, he gets fired from Apple and then goes back into Tanya, trust me, you will be much younger than me. I promise you. I was already old in 1995. I think when we think of this guy, he goes back to Apple after getting fired, and Apple was in trouble. And under his leadership, Apple changed from a really in trouble, on the verge of collapsing organization to an organization that gave us the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone, and the transformation was significant. And yes, if you read stories and if you watch the movies about him, he wasn't the most pleasant person in the world. There are stories that when he got in a lift with you, if he had asked you in the lift ride what contribution you make and you couldn't answer him, by the end of the lift ride, you would be fired. So people just avoided the lifts in Apple when he came back. Guys, and then the second one is a futurist who creates a compelling vision. I always think of Mandela's vision for South Africa. It was absolutely astonishing. I think for what I always found interesting, hopefully, yeah, that is there. Sorry, I'm stealing here. I should have been a little bit more prepped. But I think he had this wonderful vision for South Africa, this beautiful picture. And it's not ever going to be as powerful as the I Have a Dream speech with Martin Luther King. It was really, really very impressive. I also think sometimes we miss, and I can't screen, but if you ever have a moment, it's well worth watching this. I'm going to quickly just work in the background here. I'll share it with you guys. Um, Thabo Mbeki's I'm an African speech. I don't know if anyone has heard that. Sorry, I'll quickly share it. No, I won't share it. You don't want to watch the whole thing. Part of this, it will be well worth your watch as well. Please watch that. And if you listen to the description, and we miss this kind of politics, guys. And I know this is again before what made sense in your life, because you guys would have been very young. So if we look at transformational leaders, again, when we watch Invictus, the idea of Mandela being released after 27 years, the first thing he does is he forgives people who oppressed him. If I'm in prison for 27 years, I would come out as vindictive and as nasty as anyone could ever imagine. His attitude is no, we'll forgive. So when we think of idealized behaviors, it's it's an interesting view that somebody could go through the torment he went through and then leave and decide that I will forgive. The second one is inspirational motivation. And I'm not going to go through all the bits and pieces of his life, but the truth is, he somehow convinced Francois Pienaar's Springboks to win the World Cup when they were not the best team at the World Cup. And then intellectual stimulation. I mean, the fact that he has this ability to challenge assumptions. One of my favorite bits in Invictus is where he is supposed to appoint, where he is appointed a security assignment, and his instruction to the head of his security is to appoint old style apartheid security police. So he tells them that they've got to appoint security police that essentially, prior to his release, would have arrested him. They became part of his guard and they would take a bullet for him. The fact is, he had this ability to question and get people to question previous assumptions. In terms of Jeff Probst, I mean, what was the assumption prior to Survivor? It was a very different world. What was the assumption prior to Amazon's launch and Jeff Bezos, who essentially said, no, you don't need a brick and mortar store to essentially to go and buy the stuff that you can buy it online. Another fantastic moment in Invictus is Mandela gets taken to this community hall to meet community leaders, and they've got the VIP people lined up. He greets each of the VIP people. In the back of the hall, there were a group of cleaners standing, obviously, to see Mandela, and they had readied the hall. And he walked to the back of the hall, and he, in fact, says to his secretary, "I've not greeted everyone." And he greeted every single one of the cleaners as if they were a VIP. It is such a different view of the world. Most people don't even know the cleaners' names where they work. People generally don't know the security guards' names. Is that a fair comment, guys? Who knows the cleaners where they work names? Who knows the security guard? Do you? Well done, Bill. Oh, nice boy, T. Who knows the security guards? That's impressive, guys. That's impressive. Yeah, absolutely. 100%, Tanya. Guys, and then lastly, yeah, no, and Sina, that is generally how everyone is. Oh my gosh, getting bothered by someone. Yeah, no, that's also true, Chelsea. I think for me, if you want to annoy me, or if my students want to annoy me in Pietermaritzburg, is if they disrespect the security guards, because they're at the lowest of the low, and yeah, students will get chatted to if they're horrible to the security guards, guys. And then just idealized attributes. I think the truth is that these leaders have the ability for us to permanently be impressed by them. And the truth is, when you think of how how followers identify and essentially look up to and revere their leaders, this is what a true transformational leader does. Who has ever worked with someone like that, where you thought, this is somebody I really respect, that this guy is someone to be admired? Who has ever worked with someone like that? Nice, Chelsea. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. Nice, Dill. Very nice. Brett, are you a transformational leader? But nice, 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 nice. I don't know about that, Chelsea, but thank you. Yeah, but thank you. I think the truth is it's so difficult to find these kinds of individuals. I met somebody who I considered to be a leader when I was in my 50s. I had never prior to that considered anyone who I had worked with or worked for as qualifying as being a leader. And it took me, almost 30 years of working to get that to that particular point. These people don't always exist, guys, and the impact and the influence they have obviously is significant. Transactional leadership, yeah, you'll remember from when we did this previously, although it was very cursory. Transactional leadership is essentially a give and take leadership. If you do something, I will reward you in a certain way. Those of you, yeah, who are still young, you'll remember that your parents would have adopted a transactional style. If you clean your room, then you can go out. I think there's always that kind of negotiation. And in my house is if you clean your room, I might consider feeding you. I'm not really a nice parent. Give me examples of the kinds of trade-offs that your parents did with you, the kinds of transactions, or you do with your children. I'm not strict at all. I honestly am the most unstrict parent in the world. What are some of the transactions you remember from being a child? You can watch TV. Nice one. Other people? Uh, yeah, Dylan, it's not helped you much, but your parents tried. uh, like for 80%, I'd be like 250 or something. Oh, I see. No, we were all Murda's children, I can promise you guys. Yeah, no. And my parents didn't just like the physical damage. They quite liked the psychological damage as well. But I think we see transactional behavior honestly in parents. It's always a give and take. And it does work. The problem for me with transactional leadership is that it works a short period of time. We also that's why straight after this, guys, I'll go to my psychologist somewhere on the internet. I'm sure I'll find it. Guys, I think in terms of transactional leadership, it works, but I don't know how sustainable transactional leadership is. For me, it just becomes a thing of what's in it for me all the time. In terms of the behaviors that are linked to transactional leadership, the first one is contingent reward. So this is what we expect. So if you meet with 100 clients in 3 months, there will be X amount in terms of bonus. So we still see this. Yes, absolutely. Salespeople do this all the time. And it works in sales. I mean, I think salespeople are very much driven by targets and then achieving those targets. The second one is management by exception. It's about the line of sight, guys. I think one of the key things about line of sight is that it works really well when if somebody behaves in a particular way and they can directly link that behavior to a reward. Oh, that's brilliant, Brett. That's the way you want to do that. The line of sight is important, guys, where you clearly link your behavior with a particular reward. Sometimes that gets a little bit blurry. So, in terms of management by exception active, it is it is sometimes, in particular with the complexities that we have in organizations, very difficult to maintain the behavior and the line of sight with the reward. And also sometimes people don't control the outcomes in terms of their behavior and their achievements, etc. guys. And then management by exception, yeah, taking action only when things go wrong. I'm going to explain this badly, and I apologize for that. But I always think that it's the opposite of catching people doing the right thing. I sometimes think that it's catching people doing the wrong thing. Not a big fan of that. I think managers are very good at catching people doing the wrong thing, which is really this passive approach. Only when people go off track do you take action. I quite like the idea of catching people doing the right thing. Guys, does this work as a leadership style? Guys, does this work as the leadership style? Anyone want to suggest? Anyone used it? It can work. It can work. My worry is that it is sometimes short time. I think for salespeople, this is immaculate. I mean, it really is the basis of any salesperson's performance. This one, yeah, not a big fan of it. What's wrong with management by exception, guys? It is crisis management, and I think it is the idea that people are too scared to do something wrong because somebody will catch you doing something wrong, guys. And then just the link between the three. So transformational, I think those pictures that we had give us a clear indication of that. And then transactional, the kind of give and take. That's a fair management. I don't like the term non-leadership. When would laissez-faire management be appropriate? I don't like the term non-leadership. When would laissez-faire management be appropriate? Creative jobs, absolutely. Creative jobs, but populated by what kind of people? What kind of people do we find there? Exactly, Tanya. That is spot on. I think, yeah, oh gosh, I hope I've not shared this with you guys, and if I have, I apologize. Oh gosh, I can only find out whether I've shared. It gives me a chance to paint. I did a NSS yesterday with students that weren't part of my class before, and there were lots of comments about my art. I was quite offended. But there's a theory, guys. Have I done this? The theory about the four kinds of people in the world? Okay. There's a theory. Now, remember, whenever I say a theory, you know that most of it's made up and it's not been verified. But when you look at the essence of it, you get people who are unconsciously incompetent. They're useless and they don't know they're useless. Any theory, yeah, no. Unconsciously incompetent. People who are consciously incompetent. These are people that are deliberately useless. I'm sure there are better management terms than useless. Then there are people who are unconsciously competent. And then you have people who are consciously competent. I can tell you now, even though this is a theory that comes out of a book called Games Trainers Play, and it has no validity in terms of it being tested, I'm telling you now, you can find people that you've worked with that fits each of those categories. You've all worked with somebody who's unconsciously incompetent, where they think they are sliced bread, but in reality, yeah, they're not even stale bread. Unconsciously incompetent, dry bread. Yeah, that's been left in a bin somewhere. Unconsciously incompetent people tend to think they are fantastic, but they don't know how bad they are. Anyone work with someone like that before? You guys are very lucky. You guys are very lucky. Anyone ever work all the time? Anyone ever work with somebody who is consciously incompetent? Who is, yeah, true, Chelsea, who almost is deliberately useless and tests the boundaries of how much they can get away with. Sorry, is this a rubbish theory? Yeah. No, I know we do. And then you get people who feel incredibly pointy. Pointy. And then, guys, people who are unconsciously competent, I always feel sorry for these individuals because these individuals are really good at their job, but they don't believe in themselves. They're constantly checking, whether what they're doing is okay or on track. But in reality, they're rock stars. Yeah, some people are very humble as well. No, people are humble, but I think people new in a job, even though they're competent, often fall into that category. Anyone ever work with someone who is unconsciously competent, where they're good, but they don't trust themselves enough, guys? And then you get people who are consciously competent. These people are good and they know they're good. They're not arrogant about it. There's no arrogance needed. I think all of us, I think of my GP. She is consciously competent. I honestly, I trust my GP with my life. My hairdresser, she is consciously competent. I can't say that about my dentist, though. Yeah, I think the moment you're arrogant, I think yeah, you're hiding something. Consciously competent people are very good at what they do. In terms of laissez-faire, guys, the idea is that laissez-faire leaders are really good when you deal with consciously competent leaders. Just a comment about that theory, guys. Is that real? Can you find people that fit into each of those categories? I hate my dentist because they're useless. Yeah, Tanya, I think we can all. Yeah, it is, guys. Can I just see who fits into that one there? Useless and they don't know they're useless. You shouldn't answer now because you wouldn't know that you're useless. I knew someone was going to say someone. Cameron who put diesel into a petrol vehicle. Is it that Cameron? Oh, guys, and then yeah, I don't know anyone consciously incompetent. I'm sure this is going to be Cameron again, guys, and then yeah, hopefully most of you are sitting in that category there. Okay, guys, and then charismatic leadership. Um, if we go back to my pictures, who would be the most charismatic? Yeah, let's go to Jeff Probst. I'm just putting him there because he's good looking. Jeff Probst, charismatic. What makes him charismatic? Shame. Um, Cameron, Brett is standing up for you. Somebody has to. I'm so grateful, boy. I think when we think of charismatic leadership, guys, I think these are individuals who have these intangible qualities. You don't know what they are. They're very difficult to define that naturally attract people to them. People who had met Mandela will tell you that he had this force field of energy around him and somehow just being or having the privilege of being in that force field essentially had a knock on effect with people. Charismatic leaders are able to get people to do things they normally wouldn't consider doing. Can charismatic be dangerous? When can charismatic leaders be dangerous? Zuma, guys, I always think, I'm not religious, so this is coming from that particular perspective. But I always think that these charismatic churches and those charismatic preachers, I have real issues with them. You know, where people take children who should be in hospital so that the guy can pray for him. I don't know if I had shown you this one. Oh my word! Hold on. Oh gosh, if I've shared it, I'm so sorry about it. I don't know if anyone remembers this guy. Very charismatic. Anyone remember this news article? Oh gosh, where did you guys go? Anyone remember that? Anyone remember that one? Yeah. So this guy, oh yeah, I'll just let you read it. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, well, that's exactly it, and it's apparently the breath of God that escapes the. Yeah, I don't know what to say, guys. Yeah, I saw this. Yeah, the breath of God. I don't know, guys. It had healing abilities. He's going to be, I don't know, registering for a hospital. Oh, yeah, my favorite is, first of all, you've got a female name and you're a dude, and then, yeah, he heals people. Yeah, I don't know. I saw that, and when you think of charismatic, yeah, that's the next level, guys. It was so insane. So yeah, charisma is divinely inspired gift. We know where that guy's divinely inspired gift is, or at least where he thinks. It is so disturbing, guys, when you see that, but it shows you the influence and power that charismatic leaders can have. In particular, charismatic preachers will have in churches. Is anyone in a charismatic church, goes to a charismatic church? Anyone go to a charismatic church? No one will admit. Okay. Guys, and then just in terms of the approaches to charismatic leadership, the first one, I think so too. I think church leaders are by nature charismatic, but I think you have more traditional churches. I think when I think of charismatic um, churches, I think of these TV type evangelists, etc., where there's music, etc. And I don't have an issue with that because it is a wonderful experience for some people. But yeah, I think there's some real there are people who stretch the imagination in terms of what a church leader should do. So, in terms of the behavioral approach, so generally it's about displaying competence and walking the talk. And I don't want to talk about this guy because, again, it's somebody who I really have no time for. But when Donald Trump got shot and that's absolutely true, Charles. That is so true. I think unless you're part of it, you shouldn't actually comment because I can't explain it. But when Donald Trump got shot in the ear, well, where his ear started bleeding, um, when he got up and did the whole, you know, we are powerful sign. I think it is again that kind of role modeling. It's that kind of behavior that that I think is incredibly fake. But charismatic leaders have this ability to get people excited. That kind of behavior fits what a charismatic leader will do. The second one is always clear goals and expect a lot from people. So someone like Sia Khaleesi, very charismatic. I think Sia Khaleesi is seriously charismatic, but done in an incredibly humble way. Absolutely, Walter, 100%, 100%. Yeah, and also, yeah, 100%. Guys, and then just also it's about the kinds of motivation that we create and when interacting with people, they have this ability to get people worked up. Yeah. So if we look at the kinds of behaviors that we see that charismatic leaders will have, so strong role model, walk the talk. And you can see the kinds of things that go hand in hand with that. You know, immediately the leader's ideology, etc., will impact and will influence. Guys, and then again, shows competence, you know, and at least as an outsider, we might not think that Trump is competent, but his people thinks that he is competent. And then clear goals, high expectations, serious confidence, and that confidence that kind of almost exudes from these individuals will get obedience and then gets people moving forward and excited and generates excitement and gets people to do things and then trusting the ideology. And I always worry about those ideologies, in particular when those ideologies are questionable. But yeah, Walter, I agree with what you said there. As and then, oh gosh, attributional approach. I think in attributional theory is we try and find reasons, explanations why people behave in a certain way. We try and essentially attribute the behavior to the person as being part of the person. So in attribution theory, you get internal attributions and you get external attributions. Internal attributions is when somebody behaves in a particular way and we say, oh, that's who he is. You know, that's who he is. He does exactly what he normally would do. It's not fake, it's who he is. External attributions is when people change their style of behavior and we look for I don't know environmental things that impact the person's behavior. And you can see the kinds of attributional bits that are important. Starts with a vision, Mandela's vision, Steve Jobs's vision, Bezos's vision, Bill Gates's vision for Microsoft. And then the second one, it is acting in unconventional ways. Let's be honest, Trump changed politics or what we think of politics. The EFF changed what we thought of being appropriate in terms of parliamentary protocols. So often we see these kinds of unconventional, whether we agree or disagree with it, that kind of unconventionality makes these people stand out from the crowd. Give me examples of unconventional things that leaders have done. I mean, Russi, the 7-1 split. Unconventional things. Richard Branson, when he launches a new product, it is always something unconventional in the launch. Guys, and then taking personal risks. These are people that will invest their own money. Yeah, a Scrum in R22 build 100%. And then that idea of confidence, you know, even if you're not always confident. And then I think that the truth is about getting people to buy into that vision. And then just, yeah, follow a self concept. I think generally what happens is that charismatic leaders are able to get people to want to be like them, want to behave like them, want to buy into this bigger picture success that potentially will happen when we do things. I think often in terms of charismatic leaders, they have this ability to make people feel good about themselves, and then in terms of feeling good about themselves, they automatically want to contribute to whatever the leader's vision is, guys. And then you can just see the way we do it. We change follower perceptions, so the work is not drudgery, it is exciting. It is getting people to buy into a vision, and then obviously this idea that people start identifying with this brand, with this notion, and then this belief in self-efficacy, this collective self-efficacy. Who remembers the term self-efficacy from first semester? Remember, belief in your own abilities, guys. Sorry, it's just the last slide. I think part of the reality of charismatic leadership is that these people are able to convince us of the rightness of their goals, of the intentions that they have essentially should be our intentions. And it's always part of a vision. It's part of a bigger future, a new future that will make people's lives better. And buying into it is worth your while. And again, when we think of the charismatic preachers, people aspire to be like the charismatic preacher. People aspire to have an America like Donald Trump is suggesting. Guys, yeah, I'll stop there. Any questions? Any